Hey, it's Biddy Penny. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm playing with Scrappy Tails Crafts dies, and these are standalone dies. This is assorted leaves, and the other is flying butterflies. I will leave them both linked for you below. But today I want to explore all the possibilities of standalone dies, especially ones like this that are real detailed. You can do so much, and they are so much fun to play with. So today we're going to do some mixed media and just explore a few possibilities. I feel like the possibilities are kind of endless with these, and they cut beautifully. This was with one pass. I didn't have to run it through and run it back through. Just one pass through the die cutting machine, and they came out from this thick Tim Holtz metallic cardstock beautifully. So that is so nice. These dies, are an investment that are high quality. And I think when you're looking at dies, especially something like this, if you like a lot of flowers or butterflies, invest in a good quality piece that you can use over and over again. And these really are stellar. So the first card we're going to make today is just very simple. I wanted to start with the basics. I think this leaf is beautiful enough to be the centerpiece. I'm kind of playing with this. This is a brand new Tim Holtz decal edge trimmer. It's kind of, I'm going to be honest. I'm always honest with you guys. It's kind of clunky. That metal ruler is coming off. It's really loud. Just the grinding of the different edges, I guess, when you cut. So yeah, I don't know. I would have been perfectly happy just tearing my paper with a ruler, I think, still, but I have it. I am going to try to use it. I love like all of his other products. It's just this one, I don't know. So I am using this mulberry paper, and I got this off Amazon, and it was in card making section under mulberry paper. If you guys want to check it out, it's an assorted pack. I just like it because it has really unique fibers. This one has a lot of mulberry paper with like different leaves and pressed flowers, and there's a variety of colors. So I just bought one pack, but it's lasted me years because I just don't use it that often. All right, so I'm going to bring in my brush and metallic watercolors, and I'm going to do just a little bit of splattering here just to add a little extra touch. This card really is pretty simple. I just blended a tiny bit of green, and I used a soft mint macaron from Stampin' Up, in case you're wondering what color I used, and then I just used that gold watercolor to splatter. And now I'm going to put my leaf right on top, and I'm going to bring in this metallic thread. This is from Walmart. I just recently got it. I think it was $2 or $3, and I really like it because it has some elasticity to it, which I find to be really refreshing because my last spool was very coarse and did not have any kind of stretch to it. So I'm really liking this one. And I am just going to stretch this across the card a few times. And I want to go really gentle because this mulberry paper would tear easily if you got it too taut. So be gentle. And like that's essentially it. That's what I'm doing for this card. I wanted to start off with something very clean and simple where, the die could shine, the die cut. And then we are going to jump in and just dive straight into some different stuff here. So our first card is Out of the Way. Really, really beautiful. All right, I'm grabbing some foam. Now I want the thickest foam I can find. So I am going to pick this yellow one. And honestly, if you You might want 2 of each, but essentially the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our own stamps. So with intricate die cuts like these, they make great stamps. So these don't have coordinating stamp sets, right? They're standalone dies. But we can make some of our own with the foam. Now, if you were making a stamp and you're like, I'm going to use this over and over, I would recommend using maybe a double layer of foam. But I knew I was really just making these for the purpose of this video today. And so I just did 1 layer of foam. So all of these can make stamps. Now I'm going to show you 2 different ways. So I'm going to pick one of these butterflies. I'm going to use a couple of glue dots from my stash, and I'm just going to put 2 glue dots on this butterfly. Now you have to think about when you're putting them down, how they're going to stamp, right? It's going to be the reverse of how you lay it down. So do think about that. But I'm going to put 2 glue dots on the back of this butterfly, and I'm essentially just going to stick it to my acrylic block. Done. I have a stamp. Now the other one I'm showing you here, you could definitely make a stamp out of this. It would be beautiful. But I'm going to bring out my glue and my cardboard, and now I'm going to mount this other butterfly piece. So I wanted the outline and I wanted the detail. So I'm on the detailed piece. I thought it was important to glue it down and make sure we got a good impression. So that's why I chose to glue this one on an old piece of cardboard. And I'm going to have to let that dry. So while that dries, we'll move on to my other idea of something I like to do with standalone dies, and that's make embellishments. Sometimes I'm not in the card making mood, but I'm in the crafty mood. So when I'm like that, I try to do maintenance stuff in my craft room or do something like this and just make embellishments. Now I want to show y'all here, I bought both of these brushes off Amazon, and they're not all created equal. These black ones I've had for about 2 years and I love them. They're super thick. These colored ones I just recently got to go with my Catherine Puller inks because I wanted them to have their own brushes. And they're extremely soft bristled. They're not real thick. So I'm not sure how well they're going to blend. I don't think they're going to blend really great, but that's just what happens when you're trying new things, right? They do okay today. They do okay for this video. So that's good. All right. So now I'm just really playing along, and I have this foam. So I'm going to use this just for dimension in my embellishment, and I'm going to glue the pattern paper that we just distressed onto the top of the foam, and then I have a dimensional embellishment that I can use on a card. I will use it on a card today, but I wanted to give you guys this idea because you could make a bunch of ephemera for yourself with standalone dies, right? You could cut a bunch of leaves out of different papers. You can make butterflies and add these things to your stash. So the next time you are ready to make a card, you'll have a bunch of ephemera to play with. Okay, so my stamp is dry. And yeah, I'm going to catch the edges, but that's okay. It's just cardboard. And I'll try not to get it. It won't transfer onto my card. I'm going to stamp carefully. So now you can see this makes a beautiful stamp. Absolutely beautiful. And with this foam, I have no problem just wiping it off with a dry microfiber cloth and adding other ink colors to it. So now on this card front, I'm just doing all the details in pink, and then I'll come in with the full butterfly image and I'll stamp in different colors. You do have to think about what colors you're coming in with, like yellow and this reddish pink are going to make orange in places, right? So you want to be careful, just depending on what ink you're using, like with a dye ink, about how the colors will blend with one another. So that's actually one reason why I chose the pink, is because I knew I could come in with yellow and blue and everything would turn out lovely. So I did buy the Date Night collection of Catherine Puller inks, and I got the full size. I played around with my Zen collection quite a bit before making the investment, but I've been very happy with them. And I chose them like for this project because I knew that they would be juicy and I'd get a great impression the first time. I wouldn't have to re-stamp again. So also the reason that I blocked these the way I did, like putting the full body on the acrylic block, is because I knew I would be going back over the detailed image, and I wanted it on a clear block so I could easily see and line things up. So that's something else to think about if you are doing this process and making your own stamps. So on that hot pink butterfly, I do wish I would have stamped it off once, but that's okay. And y'all can see the glue dots came off the block easily. I'm going to do a few things to this card base still. I'm going to add some gold splatter, because once I start splattering, I just can't seem to stop. And it really just helps fill in this background. Okay, so that needs to dry, and now I want to play with this. So this is much like what I was talking about with the inks. So I have yellow fun foam, and I'm going in with a blue ink because I know these two are going to mix and make green. You could have also just gone with green, but I had the blue on my desk and the brush and everything, so I went blue knowing I would get green. So I'm just inking in all the stems on this. And then I'm going to bring in some white impasto paint, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with this and if you've seen my A Cherry on Top box, but this is the white version of that paint, and it's extremely thick. It's a texture paint. So, you know, don't use a brush, but you apply it with a palette knife. And I chose this because I wanted dimension. This gives beautiful dimension. And I wanted to make sure it covered up the yellow and the green, and that I would get a saturated, good coverage out of this. Now, I did leave this overnight to dry. I think that's very important with this paint, so that's just something to consider. This isn't a technique that you would want to use if you needed a card really fast. But that is something you could do if you were just making embellishments. You could make a bunch of those and then pull them out and use them as needed. Another little technique I want to share with you guys is, like on this, I'm coming in with black soot, and I wanted to stress just the very edges of this card front, and I don't want to get a lot of black soot inward. I really just want dark edges. So I'm bringing my paper straight into where the ink is there on my glass mat, and I'm bringing it very close to the edge, so it's not so much blending. I'm just kind of dragging it onto the edges of the paper, and it just gives it a very distinctive look. Okay, I recently got this Dina Wakley acrylic spray, and I bought it only in white to start because I just wanted to try it out. And I am going to be loving this for white splatter. It makes it so easy. So here's a little close-up. Now this card needs a sentiment. So this is the happy birthday sentiment that and it's on a wood block that I always keep on my desk for moments like these. when I'm fast crafting. I did record this video over the course of 2 days. So my nails are done in the second day's footage. All right, so I have this punch that I'm using just to get a rounded edge. I just like the interest that that adds. And then I'm gonna come in and do the exact same technique now with this. So I'm wanting most of the sentiment to be white. I just want the very edges black. And you can tell I'm using a big brush, but the trick is keeping it right in that ink, and you just drag it on. So maybe if black soot is not the first place you would have gone with this, you could definitely like ink blend with purple or yellow or whatever color you like. But I just went for black soot today because I thought it was nice and dramatic and adds a nice touch. So I'll just mount this on my card base. Definitely, give making your own stamps a try. I'm just showing y'all here the texture that's on this. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, try some making your own stamps. It's really a lot of fun to see what you can come up with. Okay, so I brought in some scraps. I don't know what size these are because they were just random scraps, and I embossed them. And now this is a 2 1/4 or 2.5 inch punch. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use it to make a vase or a pot. I think a pot's more appropriate name for it, for this plant. Now, I think this plant is supposed to be like baby's breath, and that's definitely how I colored it up. But we're going to make it its own plant that's in a pot today. And I was just kind of playing around here to have a base for it. And definitely I probably should have trimmed off just that bottom rounded edge a little bit to give it more of a flat base. But that's okay. We're just having fun, right? So I had the slimline card base already made from when I made my 12 by 12 hack for you guys. And I just put all those bases that I made in my box, so I always have them to grab as needed. All right, this is a 1/2 inch strip of paper. I just kind of roughly cut it down the middle. Now I'm just stressing it with residual black soot that was on my brush. And I'm gonna make my own like bricks, kind of like a brick patio that this plant is resting on. Scrappy Tails does have a really cool slimline brick die in their shop. I don't have it, but it's really neat because it cuts out all the individual bricks in their different sizes and lengths. It's super cool. You could use that on this card as well if you had it. But I just made up my own today. And now I'm going to bring in a blue marker, because I always like it when terracotta pots have like, enamel edges and things like that. So that's the kind of detail I'm just trying to add here. And if I wanted to really take my time, I could have added glossy accents and it would have really given it that enamel touch. Okay, so I'm trying to make a better base here for my pot to sit on. And so I'm just using my punch and I'm cutting it on 2 edges, making sure it fits still, and then I'm just going to round off these so it looks more realistic. And then I'm going to edge this as well with my blue marker. You may have a die already for pots or barrels or whatever, but if you don't, just play around like I did today and make your own. All right, so let's lay these cobblestones down. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, my husband and I did cobblestone sidewalks on both sides of our driveway. We did a whole path to our backyard. It was such laborious work, but so rewarding. And so I was thinking of that when I was laying this down. I was like, wow, this is really easy. Compared to making an actual path. And I just like how this grounds the pot and kind of makes the scene more complete. I did decide to pop up the pot, and then I'm just going to glue down the flower. I'll show you how I did this. I'm trying to give you guys your ears a break here. Allow there to be a natural lull, right? Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to go behind all these little flowers and glue them down and kind of arrange this just the way I want it. I think it would be so fun to sit and just make a bunch of these up and then save them for future projects. And if you backed this with paper, so if you cut that same die out of like a sturdy cardstock, you could glue that foam to it, and then you could probably prop it up and do more with it. But I left mine just on the foam, so it was a little flimsy, but fine once it was glued down. Now this is unconventional, but that's just the way I am. I didn't want to add anything else to this card. I really just wanted that to be it. So I cut this down to 7. So it's a kind of a short, slim line. It's squatty, but super cute. All right, let's play with some scraps. This is going to be totally my style here of quick crafting. All right, so I had these scraps, and they are embossed with that 3D embossing folder. And I kind of wasn't thinking there, and I accidentally used too much glue, but that's all good. Just wiped it up. All right, so I'm just gluing this scrap back here. And what I did is I arranged this on my mat. So I don't know what the measurements are, but I know what my card front's going to be, right? It's going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I just used my mat to determine the spacing on those 2 pieces of paper that I layered. All right, so the metallic paper I used is from Tim Holtz, and you can sand Tim's paper and pull up an underlayer. So this one has like a silver underlayer to it, and it adds such a nice, like, very variegated look for my leaves. So they look like they have all this detail, and it's just from using a nail file and scratching it up. I'm going to show y'all here again. Isn't that fun? So I just added that bit of a detail to these leaves. Again, you could cut up so many of these so quickly and then save them in your stash, and you would always have some leaves to make scenes like this. Super easy. I think that's one of the great things about standalone dies, is just making your own ephemera. Here's that piece that we made earlier. I think we'll use it on this card. So I had grabbed this random little, it almost looks like a Polaroid frame. I had grabbed that out of my stash just to give myself another base for layering up. You know, the fun thing too about making your own ephemera like these leaves, if you're working with a particular paper pad but you don't have ephemera for it, and you cut this out of some of the papers that coordinate, then you immediately have, you know, some coordinating ephemera to go with whatever paper pad you're working with. Just a thought. So now I'm just deciding if I wanted a backing, and I decide that I did. I didn't want it to just be glued down straight. So I add this other piece. I know y'all can't see, but I'm just lining it up. And now I'll glue that down. My glue is like running out, but very liquidy, so I kind of had a mess that day. And essentially, that is another card. I really love this one. And it was pretty much all scraps and just random pieces of ephemera that I had made. All right, so I cannot think of what they're called, but I think you'll all know what I'm talking about. You know the dies that cut out a card front and they'll have like an oval or a circle, and then but they'll also have like scenes kind of in the die. Yeah, I should have looked it up. I'm sorry. They're popular with like on Simon Says stamp. You see them quite often. So they look something like this, right? So they'll cut out an oval, but then they might have like a butterfly in the middle. Well, you can recreate that look with standalone dies. So I just cut an oval out of my cardstock, which was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And now I'm going to kind of give myself that my own look that's similar to those fancy dies. And I'm using, you know, white on white here. So I think the important thing if you're going for that look is to use the same colored cardstock for your frame and your embellishments that you're putting on. I mean, I think you could use any color you want, but it's just important that they're the same color if you're going for this kind of look. Now, I also really like the idea of these pieces that I'm adding on now having been colored and putting them on the white cardstock with the oval. I'm showing you here, you could put butterflies anywhere you wanted if you didn't want them just in the middle. But I'm going for the middle today because I really like how it stretches across that oval like a little bridge. And I am just going to glue these pieces down. Super easy. And it's really effective. I think it's kind of hard to capture it in the video, but in person, it's just really striking design. You can make, you know, a full wreath. You could keep adding layers. This could easily be a shaker card. You could do all kinds of stuff with this. I'm not joking when I say that standalone dies have like endless possibilities. You really can do so much with them. Okay, I did want to bring in this layered piece. I'm just punching out the last few pieces of it. And I'm going to try to show y'all here what this looks like. Okay, so I have this layered piece. And I'm still wanting to keep this kind of subtle, but I want to give it color. So I brought in this brand new Sizzix Prism paste, and it's really cool. It's extremely, when it dries, it's extremely hard. I would not put a brush in this. So I'm using a paper towel, and I'm so glad I did. You could also probably use like a palette knife. But I would not ever put a paintbrush in this stuff because it is going to dry extremely hard and crusty. But that's okay because it's beautiful. It's got holographic flakes in it. I'll bring it up. I'll show it to you guys. I'm just kind of clearing out the gloopy parts from the detailed parts. It won't show through and it'll be fine, but it is so pretty. And you don't have to worry about any fallout or anything. It's really quite magical. All right, I recently, at the same time that I got the Sizzix, I got these mica flakes from Tim Holtz. I've been wanting mica flakes for so long. I finally got them. So I'm going to bring in a re-inker. Now this was the palest pink I had, and see how saturated that color is? It's because it's a re-inker. So, you know, be really, if you're trying to do the same thing, I would pick my palest color that I have in whatever color you want to make these, because they will come out super saturated. But I like this color and it matches my paper very well. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to go in, add some glue in different spots, not all over the place, but just a few highlights. And then I'm going to apply these mica flakes because I just wanted a little more shine and contrast and texture. And these were just the perfect touch for this card. I would say be generous with the glue when you're working with these mica flakes. I plan on working with them a lot more, and I'll probably have more tips for you once I've played with them. But this was just my first go and really, really like it. So here is my finished butterfly. And I really think it's just delicate and sweet. It really makes it stand out, but still feel like it's a part of the overall design. This is one of those cards that I know when I give it, especially to someone who's not a card maker, it's going to, I don't know, make them think. They'll be like, how did you do this? It's just one of those cards. So I brought in this pale blue that has just little pieces of the rusty kind of red color that match my butterfly, and I'm gluing this down. This card is really quite easy to make, and I think it's a very elegant design. I kind of want to make like a whole batch of these, like a set of them. I think it would be beautiful to give a set of these as a gift. Okay, so I'm just trimming off the edges here, and that is it. I could have kept going over even more ideas. Maybe I'll make a part 2 sometime and show y'all even more ideas of what you can do with standalone dies, but this gets us through the day. So just a very simple, clean, beautiful, easy card with one die cut. Just beautiful. And then this, where we made our own stamp, that was fun. So made our own patterned paper. And I did add a detailed white over that pink because it just wasn't getting enough detail from that. But it's beautiful. Love it. Really fun. And then we have this piece here, which is 3 3/4 wide by 7 inches, just in case you're wondering. And I'm going to try to show you all the texture that I got with that paint, but it's absolutely beautiful. And then this card I just love this card. So much dimension, so much fun, and really very fast. And this little stunner. So pretty. So I had so much fun working with these Scrappy Tails supplies. I definitely encourage you guys to go check it out. I will leave the links down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!